The Dreyfus Affair, a wrongly made conviction. The conflict between the monarchists and the Republicans led to Alfred Dreyfus, a Jewish soldier, being wrongly convicted of treason in 1884. The resulting conviction included a pardon in which satisfied both sides. Alfred Dreyfus was born October 9, 1859, in Mulhouse, France. His dad was Raphael Dreyfus and his mom was Jeanette Dreyfus. Alfred was the youngest of 9 children. In 1878, he entered the École Polytechnique Military School in Fontainebleau, France, getting to the lieutenant position in 1885. He made it into the military, and then in 1889, he was promoted to captain. The Third Republic. The majority of French people wanted another monarchy for the Third Republic. Then, the monarchists won the election in 1871, but they couldn't decide on an acceptable candidate. The failure to agree on a suitable candidate led to it falling into the hands of the Republicans, who were against a monarchy. In 1875, a constitution was approved and passed by one vote. Felix Faure became president in 1895, around the time the affair began. His run ended, though, in 1899. Monarchists were very Catholic, and in this period in history, Catholics didn't accept people who were in the Jewish community. With the loss of power, there came frustration and anger from the monarchists, and with the reconstructing of the new government, there came changes and more fear. From that point on, that just made Alfred Dreyfus an easy target. On October 13, 1894, Alfred Dreyfus was told to appear at the Ministry of War on the following Monday, October 15th. Dreyfus showed up that following Monday, and Commandant Picourt had seemed to be waiting for him. Commandant Patty D. Clam and 3 more investigators were in a private room waiting for Dreyfus. Commandant Patty D. Clam told Dreyfus that he had to write a letter, but he had hurt his finger, so Commandant Patty D. Clam asked Dreyfus to write his letter. Dreyfus of course said he would, and started to write the supposed letter. When Dreyfus was done writing, he was immediately arrested on the spot and sentenced to life imprisonment on Devil's Island. A private trial was held in advance from December 19th through the 22nd of 1894, and then, despite the lack of evidence, Alfred Dreyfus was convicted of high treason and sent straight to Serge Midi, a military prison. On January 5, 1895, a degradation ceremony was then held at the École Militaire. He was stripped of his rank, his buttons were torn from his jacket, and his sword was broken in half. On the 22nd of February in 1895, Dreyfus started his journey to Devil's Island in French Guiana on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean in South America. He arrived in French Guiana on March 12th and then arrived at Devil's Island in solitary confinement on the 13th of April. Dreyfus was on Devil's Island for almost 2,000 days. He was there from the 13th of April in 1895 to June 9th, 1899. Dreyfus wrote lots of letters, like this one to his family, that says, "What I strongly recommend to all of you is to not bow your head, but keep it higher than ever." While Dreyfus was on the island, his family was still protesting for his innocence. They understood that it would be mainly a fight against public opinion. In their letters that I read back and forth with Dreyfus, they mainly discuss Alfred's innocence and how his other family members are doing. But none of them knew that Georges Picourt, an officer that had been helped to interview Dreyfus, was investigating a major named Walden Esterhazy. He had found incriminating evidence that he had wrote the letter. Picourt had tried to tell his fellow officers, but the news angered them. Picourt kept trying to get the case back open, but ironically, he was arrested for telling military secrets to civilians. While Esterhazy was acquitted in front of a military court. Eventually, this event made the idea of a retrial for Dreyfus. But then, on January 13, 1898, a French novelist named Émile Zola wrote an open letter to the president with the title, "I Accuse." Over 200,000 copies had been sold by just the end of that day. The letter accused the military. I accuse the 3 handwriting experts, Mazars Bellum, Varinard and Qua of submitting reports that were deceitful and fraudulent unless a medical examination finds them to be suffering from a condition that impairs their eyesight and judgment. Emile Zola, I accuse. At this point in the case, there was two main suspects, Major Hubert Joseph Henry and of course Major Esterhazy. Zola's letter made widespread public attention and made France into an even bigger split. The government was being pressured to put Emile Zola on trial, while anti-Semitic riots were breaking out everywhere. Zola's trial began on February 7, 1898. He was found guilty of libel and sentenced to prison. He then fled to England where he was granted amnesty. The Dreyfus side of the case was slowly gaining in strength throughout 1898 and 1899. At the end of August in 1898, Major Henry committed suicide after confessing that he had forged documents to convict Dreyfus, while Esterhazy fled up north in panic. The confession opened up a new stage in the case, and it was almost for sure that Dreyfus was getting a retrial. Dreyfus was brought back from the island on July 9, 1899. His new trial started on August 9, 1899 until September 9th. The court found him guilty once again even after Major Esterhazy fled and Major Henry confessed. The president, in order to resolve the whole issue, pardoned Dreyfus. Eventually, Dreyfus was granted a trial to reverse all charges. On July 22, 1906, he was formally put back into the military and awarded the Legion of Honor. This entire affair vastly impacted France. The newly made republic gained maturity and learned from their mistakes throughout the case. Mainly, the affair made one huge effect afterward. In 1905, the separation of church and state became a law. From that point on, religion lost its place in politics. There hasn't been many big court cases in France involving religion since the Dreyfus affair. So the government obviously learned from their mistakes in the affair and used that knowledge for the future. The Dreyfus affair was a huge impact on 19th century politics in France. It created a law so no religion could be involved in the realm of politics. The anti-Semitism in this case shows that religion and politics negatively affected people in this time. The conflict between the monarchists and the Republicans led to Alfred Dreyfus, a Jewish soldier, being wrongly convicted of treason in 1884. The resulting conviction included a pardon in which satisfied both sides. The parade continued. I felt the thrill which I knew must be running through those people, since they believed that before them was a convicted traitor to France, and I struggled to transmit their hearts another thrill, belief in my innocence.